Hey there, and welcome to my channel, Technology Paul. Now, it's not called that because I'm made of technology yet. While you're here, I'll get you to smash that like button and subscribe to the channel. We're going to be talking about technology that is potentially a little bit off the beaten path. There's a lot of people talking about iPhones and Apple stuff and things like that are really mainstream. I might talk about that a little bit from time to time, but if it really gets down to it, I'm really interested in things that are a little bit off the beaten path. So we're talking about hardware and software that's out there. We're also talking about home automation and smart homes and things like that too. And we're talking about products that, maybe aren't a part of the big tech ecosystems. Now, that said, today we're going to be talking about Instacart. Now, Instacart is essentially an online shopping platform where you can get local items from stores that are near you delivered to your home. Usually the same day and usually within 1 to 2 hours. Instacart operates in North America, in Canada, in the United States. I'm located in Canada, and so I'm coming from it from that perspective. But they've actually got 500,000 shoppers across the entire US and Canada. It's kind of like Uber or Lyft, but for grocery shopping, and it's all sort of contractor based. Just some stats from their website. They, first of all, just recently, June 2020, just raised another $225 million. That brings their total valuation up to around 13 or 14 billion dollars. They claim that they're accessible to more than 85% of households in the US, in all 50 states, and more than 70% of households in Canada. They work with about 400 retailers, which breaks out into about 30,000 stores. In the last year, they've also extended their offering into things like alcohol purchases and prescription drug pickups. If you look at my location in Canada, my sort of selection for stores isn't as great. I've got about 7 stores that I can choose from. Let me talk about why I was interested in trying Instacart. So first of all, I'll just be honest with you. I think grocery shopping sucks. I'm not a fan. It's something where it takes a lot of time. I hate going into busy stores and long lines, right? Maybe I'm like a typical guy. I don't even like going to clothing stores, to be honest with you. If I do, I'm kind of like the in and out type person. I know exactly what I'm looking for. I'm going to go and try it and just buy it, potentially. Sometimes I don't even try clothes on. I just buy them and then hope they fit and hope I don't have to go back and return them because I just don't like hanging around in stores. And so the same thing for grocery stores. And recently, with everything that's going on in the world, we're potentially wanting to stay away from all these public spaces that are full of people and of course full of germs. The other thing is I have been grocery shopping for years now, and I still really just don't memorize the layout of the store. And so it ends up taking me a long, long time. We used to be the folks who would every night be like, hey, what's for dinner, right? So then I was going to the grocery store every single night. Now I did get wise in the last year or so, and we've been doing a lot of meal planning, and I've realized meal planning is the way to go. So we actually meal plan for the entire week, and then I only have to make one grocery store trip. I decided to give this a try, Instacart. It actually works out because they work with a store that I go to regularly here in Canada called Superstore. You can just shop any item that Superstore carries and they can deliver it for you. So I decided to give it a try. I'm going to give you the pros and cons now that I've tried Instacart. Some of the really great things about it and some of the things that I wish were better or things that you should watch out for if you're going to try Instacart. Instacart is pretty easy to use. The interface allows me to take a look at my local superstore. It's easy to search for things. I just type in the name of what I'm looking for, and it shows me different products to choose from. what I actually really like the most is that it'll actually show me the name brand stuff and then the store brand alternatives as well. And if I think it makes sense, I'll just choose the store brand alternative, which is not actually something that I've done a lot of in the store because, again, I don't like being in stores. So what ends up happening is I'll just pick the thing quickly, right, in the store. But when I can actually look online and I can see a direct comparison, that just makes it easier for me to choose the cheaper alternative. And so I actually think I'm actually potentially spending less on groceries just because I'm looking at these products side by side. It makes the comparison really easy. It's also really easy to check out. I got my credit card on file. I just review the card, click buy. They get notified right away. A shopper is going to pick it up and bring it to my house. Really, really easy. You can also tip the shopper, which I highly recommend. It just makes sense to do that. They automatically put on 5% tip. You can scale it up, and I try to bump it up anytime I can to either a higher percentage point, or you can just choose a dollar amount as well. They also provide a time estimate for delivery too. So once they start shopping for your items, you're having a general idea of when it's going to arrive as well. And in my experience, every time I've done an order, and I've done a few orders now, probably about 4 or 5 orders, it's always been I submit the order and I'm usually getting my items around an hour to 2 hours later, just depending on the size of the shopping trip and how busy the app may be. And I'm in no rush a lot of times, so I'll just select less than 5 hours, but it still shows up in less than 2 hours. And of course, the groceries arrive at my door. It's completely contactless. So they just ring the doorbell, the stuff is left on my doorstep, and I can go and pick it up. I've noticed that there's a few sort of things that you do want to watch out for though. So the first one, this might sound a little bit nitpicky, but it's a technology product. So I think this is something that they are going to want to work on. And that is just the website. The website is actually pretty slow. And they have a website and they have an app. I like to use the website because if I'm doing a pretty big shopping trip, I think it's just a little bit faster on a computer, except for the fact that the website actually kind of slows it down. Like it literally slows down. It feels like it slows down the more items I put in my cart. So I don't know if somehow it's causing a lot of memory usage or something. I've just noticed that it really slows down. Like as soon as I'm over like 20 items, it's very slow. The other thing is when you're searching for items, I noticed that there's sort of a lack of description on the items. Like I can search for the name of an item and it shows me an image of that item, but there's a lack of description and there's also a lack of ingredients, right? And so if you're shopping with dietary restrictions in mind, that causes a pretty big problem for you. I'm looking and I can't see the ingredients and I'm not sure. So that means that I actually have to look up the name of the product on Google, right? Go to the producer's website and look at the ingredients list there before I go back to Instacart and click add to my shopping bag over there. So that's kind of a hassle. And I feel like it's something that if they partnered closely with the store to get ingredients on especially the most popular items, that would be a huge benefit for folks like that. The other thing that I noticed is, and you got to watch out for, is be prepared to have your order total rise significantly, especially if you're buying meat. Instacart, they do a good job. They actually tell you this ahead of time. In fact, I think they even pre-authorize your credit card for like $50 more, just because sometimes if you're buying meat or you're buying things in sort of like bulk or even like vegetables and produce that it might be sold by weight, anytime you have stuff like that, you may have variances. Sometimes the variance actually makes it less. Sometimes it makes it more. I find that more often than not, it's going up, right? I'm actually spending more than the initial order estimate. And that's just because I feel that there's a sort of mismatch like on what they're advertising as like the weight, right? Because you can select the weight you want for meat, for example. But the club pack that I might be ordering, if I ask for a half a kilogram, it turns out that that club pack is only like a kilogram all the time. And so they don't tell you that on the website. All of a sudden, the price of that meat item, which I thought was X amount of dollars, is actually double that price. And so the price of my total order rises significantly when that happens. Not the end of the world, but you really got to watch out for that, especially if you're on a budget and you're price conscious and you're trying to stick to a very specific budget for groceries. The other thing is you can select potential replacement item for everything in your cart, right? You can go through and be like, if the store doesn't have this, get this instead. And you can literally select that. Or if you don't do that, which is kind of a time-consuming thing to do on like a 50-item order, if you don't do that, they'll replace it with what's called best match. So that's great, and I think that's wonderful. But what does best match really mean? Sometimes it varies. For example, I ordered sparkling water, unflavored sparkling water, and instead of getting that, I got a flavored sparkling water. Instead of maybe getting an unflavored sparkling water of a different brand. Okay, now that sounds like I'm a little bit whiny when it comes to the sparkling water, but that's just an example, and you can extrapolate that to basically any kind of item, right? So you're definitely potentially in for a surprise, if you don't specifically select, I want this specific item if they don't have this specific item. The shopper will often try to message you, or you can actually message them while you're shopping. And they'll kind of message me and say, hey, can't find this item, right? Or I'll get a notification that they can't find the item and there's no replacement. So they'll just, not be getting it. And I get these notifications as they're shopping. And I can message them. And then the other thing is I'm kind of stressing out because they're messaging me and they're in some things. I'm getting these notifications about some stuff is being replaced, some stuff's not there. And then I kind of just feel like I'm just in the store with them. I'm just in the grocery store with them. So I'm kind of like doing this shopping trip vicariously through that application. But when it comes down to it, let me give my final thoughts here. Instacart overall is a really good step in the right direction for me. I have to admit, it's so much easier than going to the store, and it saves so much time. However, I would say if you're on a budget, it might not be a good choice just because of the order total sort of variance that can happen. And then there's delivery fees, and then there's the tip involved. On a regular sort of weekly shopping trip, my total order might be like $200, for example, but I might be spending $20 in fees. Now, from my perspective, because as I mentioned earlier, I get that benefit of viewing products side by side, I actually have been specifically making more of an effort to get those store brands and bring my total order cost down. And I actually think that I might be netting out pretty close. And then there's just sort of the tech stack, like I mentioned, that it is a little janky to use, especially if you get a lot of items. The website starts to go really slow, starts to kind of hang a lot. And all of a sudden, it's kind of a frustrating experience. You're trying to avoid stress and frustration by doing this. I will tell you, overall, it's a good experience. I just hope they make some improvements to it. I'm going to continue to use this service every single week for my grocery shopping. It's definitely been a game changer. So that's my thoughts on Instacart. I'd be curious to hear what your thoughts are on Instacart if you've tried it, especially here in Canada. The service is still kind of rolling out, whereas it's more full in the US. And so I'm curious to hear, what the experience is like in the US or other parts of Canada. I'm in Edmonton, Alberta, and so you saw the stores that I have to choose from. I'm curious to see what the experience is like in other places. If anyone has had any bad experiences with Instacart or really good experiences, definitely comment below. I'd love to hear more about it. And again, don't forget to throw a like on and subscribe to the channel for some more updates. So thanks a lot, and we'll catch you guys in the next one.